Okay, you've got the RC-600 and you want to route your guitar signal to only go out of sub 1 so that you can bring it back to your amp. No problem. First we have to go to menu, then we go to output, then routing, then input routing, then you scroll over. Did I lose you already? The reason why people think the RC-600 is so confusing is that you have to connect what all these little screens mean and how they actually affect your signal path. Today, I'm going to show you how routing inside of the RC-600 works. Today's looping concept is the RC-600's mixer and signal routing pathways, and all the parameters you need to know about in order to make it set up the way that you want it. I'm Mike, this is Cuzolio. All right, the simplest way to jump into this is to just look at the back panel. We've got 6 inputs right here, we've got 7 outputs right here, and we've got some extra control options around here. There are your 6 inputs plus a 7th rhythm input, and your 6 outputs plus a 7th headphone output. Now let's get rid of this back panel, and what most people think about when they look at this is they say, okay, I can plug my guitar into one of these 6 inputs, I have the ability to add input effects to it, and then I can send it out to one of the outputs. You can also say, after I add my input effects, I can record it to one of the tracks, and I can choose to add a track effect to it or not, and that will also go to the outputs. Finally, you obviously have the rhythm going out to the outputs, but this gets so much deeper. All right, first off, stereo linking. So I could merge together these two and just have one control over it, or they could be separate. Same thing goes for these 6 outputs. I can have just my mains going as left and right individually, or as one connection altogether. Now on my 2 mic inputs, I now have a compression knob where I can choose to add just a little bit of compression to both of them individually. But on my instrument 1 and instrument 2, I have a gain setting. But the main point is that these are up here to say that it's going to collectively apply to both of these, whether it is in stereo link or not. This is the line level versus the instrument input level. Let's look at that stereo linking a little bit differently. I'm going to make this like an electrical diagram. Are these two linked or not? But if it's not, let's follow the signal path. First thing I have is a noise suppression knob. I can add a little bit of noise suppression to get rid of some of that crackle when nothing's going on. I have a 4-band EQ section for this, includes an on and off and a level, but then I have high cut, high gain, mid-high gain, mid-low gain, low gain, and low cut. You have the option on every single input to turn on the EQ section and give each individual instrument or each individual input their own special EQ. Every input has a level that you can set for the total volume, as well as a mute button for it. It's at this point where we can choose to globally turn on and off the input effects section. That's for all 6 of the inputs all at the same time. So when it's on, I'm going to travel down through, and actually the signal path in here we'll see goes from A to B to C to D. Or if I switch these the other way, I'm going to just go through this loop and continue on my merry way. So what happens inside input effects? For each block, you have to choose an insert. And so for mic 1 in particular, it's either going to be on or off whether or not this block is affecting it. You have to choose for input effects A if you're going to do one of the inputs, or I have to pick all 6 at the same time. You see this duplicated several times over, and the signal comes back out again. So we are going to go over to our outputs. At this point, you can turn on and off your inputs going to the outputs with one global switch, but then each one of these mixes from the mains of all 6 of these, you have the ability to turn them on and off. And again, every one of these has every single bit of this on their own. So now let's look at all of the outputs together and what options they have. First off, the mains and the 2 subs all have EQ sections, but the headphones does not. Each one of these is its own 4-band EQ. Each one of these has its own level parameter to control. If you want to control all the mains and subs at the same time, you would control the master level. And if you wanted to control all 7 together, that would be the all level. We have just one more block to talk about, and that's the master effects. Master effects can be applied only to one of these. So either to sub 1 as a stereo, or main left as non-linked, or just the headphones. You have to pick one of these outputs. And then the master effects have a reverb setting and a compression setting. So for most people, if you're playing in a bar, you don't want to be too loud. Yeah, you should add a little bit of compression to your output to your mains probably. And if you're doing a performance outside, you might not have a back wall for all the sound to reverberate off of. So you might want to add just a little bit of reverb on any outdoor mix situations. So we've gone from guitar to output, but now we want to start recording tracks. So there was a break in the chain here before the input's through where we can go off and record to tracks. I have the ability to decide for every single track whether or not mic 1 will record to that track when I press record. Notice how this signal path breaks off before the inputs through switch. When you turn off your inputs through, you are turning off the ability to hear your inputs over the loudspeaker and your headphones. This could be used for two different scenarios. One unlikely scenario is that you break a string on stage, you're in the middle of the song, you don't want to cut the tracks will keep on looping, but you can cut all signal from all these and you can now do a hot swap and you won't get a loud pop over the mains. But more than likely, you're probably just going to press this mute guy instead. Where this is actually more useful is on set breaks. You might have Memory 99 with a whole bunch of pre-recorded tracks that you can just press play on, but you don't want your mic and your guitar kind of broadcasting, maybe some guy walking up to your microphone and trying to say something into the mic. Before we go and talk about what happens after the track is recorded, let's talk about your rhythm section. The rhythm section has pretty much only one parameter that's useful as far as the signal path goes, and that is level. And obviously it can go now straight into your EQ mix for every single output. And once again, I have the ability to turn on and off where I want to hear the rhythm or not. You might be a little bit different, and instead of playing the actual rhythm, you might just be recording the actual drums that you can selectively use through MIDI in, but you can now go over to your rhythm out option and turn it from output to loop. It's still going to play through the output. So it's not actually switching between the two. It's just turning on the ability when you say go to loop to go into the actual tracks and record there as well. And once again, you can selectively say whether the rhythm will record or not record to any one of the tracks. So just talking about track 6, we do have a level parameter once again to set its volume. And then we also have the ability to turn on and off the track effects just for number 6. Then we also have a global track effects on and off, just like we had over here for the input effects. If my signal is coming down and I've got them turned on, I'll go through the track effects and come back out again. Or if it's turned off, I just loop back to here and come out this way. So inside of track effects, once more, we have to choose an insert. Now, instead of the insert being which input is it going to be, the insert is which track is it going to be. I can pick between tracks 1 and 6 and only one of them, or I can pick all of them. Now, the reason why this is pretty cool that they added this, I could turn off the local control of track effects for, let's say, number 6 and number 5, but then I set track effects A to all. So my track effects A will only affect 1 through 4. So this is honestly a stellar way to maybe separate out a certain vocal track or keep your drums unaffected from adding a whole track effect. Any combination of 1 through 6 tracks can have this track effect applied to it. You have to go through all 4 blocks, A, B, C, and D, and it comes out next to the loop level. So loop level is going to control all 6 of these volumes at the same time to where we finally are going to have our track outputs go to all of our outputs. And for the final time, you can selectively say which ones do I want track 6 to go to. And you can do the same thing for track 5 and 4 and 3 and 2 and 1. So go ahead and take it all in. This is what is actually going on inside your RC-600 and all the routing options that you have available to you. Okay, I hope that was quick and digestible and that you finally understand what's going on inside of here. At least you should know all the parameters that you do have access to, even though you might not know where exactly to navigate to which menu and all that. At least you know they exist. If you like that diagram and you want to have a cheat sheet printed off, I've got a link to a PDF down below. I'm Mike, this is Cuzolio. I'll catch you at the next looping concept. Thanks very much.